I read the statements from Boone Jenner and Mike Babcock, and Boone is the captain. He's well respected around the NHL, so his reputation's kind of on the line if he's backing Babs here a little bit. He's well respected, but I read that and I'm like, oh, seems pretty harmless, right? And let's preface it with, we'll never truly know. We'll all have opinions. Everybody's going to have opinions. We'll never know unless we were in the room. Because you'll sit around with whoever and have a great conversation getting to know them. Oh, you got kids, grandkids. That's outstanding. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the photo albums come out and you start sharing pictures and you look and that's cute. That's how you get to know people, right? Is get to learn who they are, where they come from, what they're all about. And that's when you create really deep, meaningful connections. But if he took his phone and plugged it into the computer and put it up on the screen, I mean, that is weird. And if you asked to see my phone, I'd show you photos. But give you my phone? Not that I have anything to hide, but I'd be sweating because I don't know if you're actually going through my photos or if you're looking at my browser history or God knows what else might be on there, right?
Your
so
DMs.
It's just weird. Yeah, in today's world, your phone is more personal and private than a diary, than a little black book, than a safety deposit box. Nobody ever really willingly gives their phone to somebody to let them look through it. That is really weird if that's the way it went.
Right. So, yeah, and that's why I said we're going to spend some time on the biggest issue, unfortunately, in hockey right now is this. I'm like, it's in my commentary today. You can go read it at rodpedersen.com or listen to it on Sask Radio. We just got to drop the puck. We got to get onto the ice. It's been too long of an off season that they're dissecting this. But I will say the Babcock era has not gotten off to a good start. I'm not done on this. Normally we would have flown on to the next topic by now. But it is in my commentary. I'll save you the time, everybody. I said every time Babcock comes on this show, and producer Clark would know, 4, 5, 6 times Babs has been on. Within 24 hours, my phone blows up from hockey people saying, what are you having him on for? My cousin played for him. Doesn't like him. And they're all saying, what are you having him on for? He's a narcissist. He's a jerk. That makes you a jerk. And I'm like, you need to back off. If I didn't interview narcissists, I'd have nobody left to interview. Sports is full of them. He's been fantastic to me. Now, on the flip side, again, Biz has been on this show, too, a couple times. And out of the two, let's talk about him for a minute. We can talk about Babs and whether he's a good guy or he's a bad guy. Biz Nasty, I don't quite understand everything there either. Out of the two, Biz is a really, really good guy. I've said that on the air. I've said it off the air. He's a really nice guy, really busy guy. I know people that have hosted events that Biz has come through. Some might be watching right now. You know, where Biz, remember the booze that he reps? They don't say it because they don't sponsor us, Darren, but it's not Sober Carpenter or Common Crown Brewing. Let's put it that way. But Biz came into their establishment, treated everybody great, talked to everybody in the room, was a real good guy. He's that guy. You don't hear a lot of people saying Mike Babcock is a real good guy. You don't hear that. But he's been a really good guy to me. Now with Biz, here's the interesting thing. People are saying, what did Babs say? They're like, well, I get all my sports updates from the RP show. I think we kind of read the story. Spit and Chicklets and Paul Bissonnette said that Mike Babcock asked players to see their phones, even before training camps hitting the ice in Columbus. And the players have a problem with it. And the Blue Jackets and Babcock are saying, we didn't do anything appropriate. Now, what's new is that Biz Nasty has doubled down. Have you seen this, Darren? He has screenshotted text messages from players either currently on the Blue Jackets or have played for Babcock with the Leafs, and they're all backing Biz. And he's said some incredibly offside, inappropriate things, not only in his career, Biz Nasty, but in the last 24 to 48 hours on social media. That's stuff that I don't understand how he gets away with it. Now, with that NHL analyst that I've been talking with, that I've just gotten to know the last couple of years since I moved to Florida, he thinks the stuff that Biz is saying, like I would not feel comfortable saying it on the air here. I wouldn't be real comfortable saying it with no cameras around. Darren, he's putting it out on social media, Biz. And, but it doesn't matter. I don't understand how the NHL and the NHL on TNT allows Biz to say the things that he says. Even when he was the color commentator for the Coyotes, I'm like, I can't believe what I'm hearing on Spit and Chicklets right now. Be that as it may, that stuff doesn't keep me up at night anymore. It used to. Like, how come he can say that and I can't say that? That's just the way the world is. You know, Serena said, how's that guy not been canceled by now? I'm like, I don't know. But how does some guys get canceled and some guys don't? I don't understand how that works. I'm sure there's guys going, how come Rod got a gift basket from the CFL? I do 10 times more for the CFL than Rod does. I don't know. That's one of those things. You know, I don't know how Biz is allowed to say the things that he says. But the fact that he's not backing down to Babs tells me, Darren, it's going to be pretty interesting when Biz and Babs are in the same arena together to put a bow on that. You?
It is going to be incredibly interesting to see and see if that day comes and when it happens. Biz is interesting because we've had the same thing, you know, I mean, I've had interactions through you and then this show, but not clearly, you know, to the extent you have, but comes across as a great guy. You don't hear a lot of stuff on the internet about him ever being a bad guy or a bad person. And I've been watching a lot of legal shows, lawyer shows, streaming shows, right? And I don't claim to be a lawyer, but what do they do in court? They start to characterize the defendant, the accused, right? And the two sides. And you get character witnesses. And Biz doesn't have really a lot of negative character witnesses here. There's not a lot of that. But Babcock comes with a reputation now. You know, especially since the Marner thing. You go back to Johan Franzen, Mike Modano. There is a history there. So it's easy to see why this would come up, right? Because, it's the same old Babs. Now, there's so much to unpack, but the intent of it, right? We're having a great conversation, and you talk about your grandkids, and all of a sudden, which you don't have any. You're not old enough for that, but when you talk about having grandkids, and it's like, hey, let's see the kids, you know, first day of school photos, and you bring out your photo album. That's great. But the same interaction could be, I demanded to see the photos and made you show me the photos. And in reality, it was just a friendly conversation over a cup of coffee, me being curious, genuinely curious into your life. But, you know, for Biz to double down, now he's always been this guy. That's the one thing. When you say, how can he get away with it? He's always been this guy. He was, when he first started on social, when he was playing, ripping people who came after him for his being a fourth liner, to spitting chicklets, and then he got hired on national TV after doing all that. So he's been consistent with that, but I'm with you. I don't know that he's coming out this aggressive and doubling down with everything that would be on the line. Spitting chicklets and Barstool, NHL on TNT, the Coyotes, being a big NHL ambassador. I don't think he's doing that if there's not something to this story.
From the audience, Scott M. says, Biz is just looking for attention, blown out of proportion. That's your opinion, and that's what my NHL analyst friend said. Exact same thing. He said clickbait. That may be true, but I think Biz gets enough attention. He's got into the millions of Twitter followers. I don't know that he needs any more attention. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I think he gets enough. Monty in Saskatoon says, it's your show, Rod. Mike is a great man. In Saskatoon, they think Mike Babcock walks on water. He's spoken at the U of S convocation a couple of times, right? Let's go into Saskatoon and ask 10 people on the street what they think about Babs. You'll get the same answer from all of them. Patrolman Pete in Winnipeg says, I think Mitch Marner can confirm that Babcock is maybe not the most wonderful guy. And on that vein, Mike's been guilty of bullying people. If that's what they say is true, he hasn't really apologized for that, but he's never bullied me. And on the flip side, there's been people that I haven't been that particularly nice to that don't really like me. And life goes on. And there's people that have bullied me that I have a real problem with, but I don't run around saying, why do you associate with this person? He's a blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? So the thing with Biz is he still acts like he's 18, but as you said, that's his shtick, and it's worked for him. Couple quick last points on this. Wayne in Victoria says, that's another reason that I love the RP show. Rod speaks the truth 98% of the time. I don't agree with everything Rod says. What's the other 2%, Wayne? I'll wait.
How about that?
Ted in Red Deer says, I agree 100%, Wayne. This is why the RP show is so great. I would not be comfortable handing over my phone to anyone, let alone my boss. Babs is offside, in my opinion. That's the point, and I like Babs. It's just weird. So there's three sides to every story: yours, mine, and the truth. And there's also the adage, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I believe in both of those. When we come back, we'll talk some CFL football, a lot of NFL, some college, and whatever else comes up. On the way, Jonathan Moxey of the Calgary Stampeders live. And Brian Ray of the Dallas Stars. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, podcast, and YouTube Live.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, collectors, register for the premier sports card convention where collectors, enthusiasts, and sports lovers unite to celebrate the beauty and value of their treasured items. Taking place in Red Deer, Alberta, in the Parkland Pavilion, September 29th, 30th, and October 1st. Get your tickets and more information at premiersportscardcon.ca. That's premiersportscardcon.ca. And just before we switch over to football, Jim is watching Moose in New Jersey. Jersey, Jim. Last comment on the Babs Biz situation where Paul Bissonnette has accused Mike Babcock of asking players or forcing players to turn over their photos in their phone. Jersey Jim says, Rod, it's just a weird situation, just so bizarre. Would we be talking about this if it wasn't Mike Babcock? Just a thought. Just a weird situation. As you said, truth lies somewhere in between both sides because we weren't there. Our hockey talk, and I wish it was of something else, but hockey coverage is brought to you in part by Common Crown Brewing Company. Head to the tap room Thursday through Saturday, noon to 8 p.m. Check out Common Crown Brewing Company at commoncrown.ca. They're in Calgary on 28th Street Northeast. They have their own bar right in the brewery. The tap room, open noon to 8 p.m. Thursday through Saturday. Go check it out. Tell them RP and DD sent you. Okay, Moose, over to football. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, because we'll get a lot of NFL coming up next hour. And the Stampeders, Jonathan Moxey, joins us next segment in our weekly CFLPA Player Spotlight. But two quick things. We always do on Wednesdays the poll of what's Canada's game of the week. Might as well throw that up right now. Canada's game of the week is brought to you, or the daily poll is brought to you by our friends at Key Auto Group. And I'll tell you more about Key Auto Group in a moment. But leading the poll, if you can believe, this surprised me a little bit. I don't know if it'll stay. This is a 24-hour poll, but leading right now is the Toronto Argonauts at the Montreal Alouettes, believe it or not. Not that I have a tough time believing that they would lead the poll, but I'm voting for Edmonton at Saskatchewan Friday night. That is a massive game for both teams. And then on Saturday, it's Winnipeg at Hamilton. And the week closes with Ottawa at BC. And the poll is for Key Auto Group. At the Key Auto Group, you can buy with confidence knowing that they provide reports on all vehicles they sell. Get fully informed about your next vehicle by going to keyautogroup.ca. So as we bring Darren Moose DuPont back in, he is in Toronto. Would you be surprised that at any point Argos Alouettes would be leading the poll for Canada's game of the week? I'm quite shocked by that.
Shocked. Like completely floored. And not just because of, how popular this show is in Saskatchewan and Alberta, for an Edmonton Saskatchewan game, but because, and it just happens that those two teams are kind of dominating the headlines right now and kind of the most interesting. Saskatchewan needs to win some games here to just secure a playoff spot, a few games. They're sitting still in an okay spot, but Edmonton's rolling. They're kind of the story of the CFL right now. They've kind of got it together. Trey Ford, Canadian quarterback, and I kind of, roar them back. And you can correct me. We always talk about, was it the 2011 BC Lions that started 0-6, I want to say, and made it all the way on the Grey Cup?
I think it was 0-5. Somebody that knows better, correct me, but I think it was 0-5. Yeah.
Wasn't 0-9, right? So would this not be the most miraculous thing of all time if Edmonton can get on a heater here and get into the playoffs? And I don't want to start throwing around Grey Cup and stuff like that, but it would be one of those great all-time turnaround stories, would it not? I think it would.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. And wouldn't that just be proper that Chris Jones would be the guy to pull it off? So to the audience, I got quite a few things I want to get to here. Patrolman Pete in Winnipeg says, I voted for Argos Owls because the Argos are a great team to watch and the Owls have something to prove. John Ohm says the big test for the Saskatchewan Roughriders this Friday. If they can't beat the Elks by more than 14 points, then the Riders are not relevant for the playoffs. They'll take it by 1. John Kirby in Edmonton writes in, he says, still no CFL stats, still no CFL app. What do you think is going on, Rod and crew? What I think is not my monkeys, not my circus, had nothing to do with me. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I've moved on. I don't want to talk about that. But I'll say this, for all of the millions of new viewers that we have now, go check out all of our social media channels because we are the most interactive show on television, period, sports or otherwise. I swear that we are. And so yesterday's show, I said that I was talking to that veteran U.S. football coach yesterday. And we were talking about the Elks, and he goes, I talked about it with you yesterday, but he said, they're dangerous. Well, we put that up on our Facebook page. Believe it or not, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, and we have Twitter. Also TikTok. and on Facebook. Like, we love listening to the fans. What's the mantra? Don't expect us to agree with you, but we will listen to you. Most shows don't even listen to you. And the team sure as heck don't. So when we put up the thing about the veteran coach saying the Elks are dangerous, some guy writes in, and I don't know where he was from, but a fan, and he goes, he was talking about Elks, the animal, Rod. Not the football team. Elks, the animals, are dangerous. I'm like,
yes,
that's good. That's good. Hey?
That's really good. Oh, man. I love it. That's why we have the viewers, and that's why we put that stuff out there so that they can chime in. And once in a while, the viewer will hit it out of the park with a comment like that.
There's some good ones coming in here. They're talking to each other in the chat. You know, we're very big in Winnipeg. Very big in Winnipeg. Jay in Winnipeg has written to another guy watching the Barflies and says, hey, Barflies, can I look through your phone? The memes going around.
There's a show.
Really good.
Have you seen it? There's a streaming show where they do that. That's how wild this is. You go on a first date, okay, and you have a conversation, and then if you want to continue, you have to give your phone to the other person. So they have an unlocked phone, and you're sitting in a dark room, and you have to watch them go through your phone. And they're looking at your naughty photos, your DMs, and they're narrating, oh, let's see what you got in the photos. Let's see who you've been messaging. Oh, let's go see your internet history. And they have to sit there and watch somebody else go through. And when you watch this, you just have anxiety. Anxiety like crazy.
For them.
Because that's such a, yes, for them. Yeah. Like, oh, man.
For those that have just tuned in, you're wondering why we're talking about it. Mike Babcock's been accused of asking the players to turn over their phones so we can look at the photos. And believe me, we'll get to more of the CFL talk. But I can also smell a hot topic like a fart in a car. I know what people are going to want to talk about. And I remember, I mean, people now, they finally have realized that I don't want to go back to play-by-play for a myriad reasons. But I have a lot of stories from traveling with teams. And one time we were on the bus, and the names are going to remain nameless. But the coach told all the players to forward their phones to the front of the bus. I don't know if you've ever had this happen or not. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know that that's even constitutional. But I'm not going to get in the way of this either. I think we've all seen things happen on buses that will remain on the buses. And I'm not talking about the horrible hazing things, which I've also seen, but we won't talk about that. But this one, all the players got their phones set up. And I don't really know why he asked them to do this. It doesn't even really matter now. And then the next night he asked them, and believe me, it didn't go over well. And the coach, he didn't go through their phones, just so you know. He took his pillow out of the pillowcase and put all the phones in a pillowcase, tied them up, because he didn't want the players to be on their phones. I understand it. Trust me, I get why he did. I just don't think you can. Yeah. And then the next night he did it again, and all the phones came up from the back of the bus, and the batteries had been pulled. Remember when you used to be able to pull the battery from your BlackBerry or whatever, your yes. Motorola flip? Just so you know, I goof on the players a lot, but they're not stupid. Hey?
Smart. Yeah. Smart. You don't want to let it, you can have my phone, but you're not getting my text messages. Period.
Jay in Winnipeg wants to know if Babs lasts the year. I'm wondering if he lasts the month, bro. Like, I'm sitting here thinking about this quite a bit. Again, as a fan, I can't say whether Mike Babcock's a narcissist or not. He displays some tendencies, but I wouldn't characterize him of that or not because I don't know him well enough. But if he is, they say narcissists continue their patterns and behavior without themselves even knowing. And an example of that is some of those text messages that Biz is showing, Paul Bissonnette, saying that, oh, yeah, he did this in Toronto. Same, he did it here, too. Ended up him getting fired. So with that notion, and I hate that I know so much about this, but I do, personality types, they repeat their patterns. It's just gross. And again, I'm not saying that's what Babs is or even that's what he's doing, but this is what he's being accused of. Fair?
Yeah.
So listen, the Riders may or may not agree with you, but the gentleman said if the Riders don't win by 14, it was John. He says they haven't beaten an opponent in any of their 6 wins by more than 5 points. That doesn't really matter, but Carlos in Indianapolis says, so the Riders won't be covering the spread, which we don't even know at this point what the spread is. We haven't brought that up yet. The Riders don't care what the spread is, but that is an indication of how dominant of a team that you are, how much you're beating teams by, or how much you're losing by. So it's not an argument that I wouldn't necessarily spend some time on. Now, we're out of time here. When we come back later on with you in hour 2, I want to talk about the fact that all of Canadian football fans want to see the New York Giants sign Nathan Work. We're going to tell you not only why they won't, but also why they shouldn't. But Jonathan Moxey of the Calgary Stampeders, by way of West Palm Beach, Florida, 21 miles north of where I sit right now, joins us next. Moose, enjoy the break. We'll see you in a few.
See ya.
We are live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, podcast, and YouTube Live.
Hey, Rod Squad, now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show, official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com. Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
We're live on the RP Show. It's time for our weekly Canadian Football League Players Association Player Spotlight. The problem is, just one problem, we don't have the player. Jonathan Moxey of the Calgary Stampeders, producer Clark telling me he logged in like 10 minutes ago to join us on their bye week, and then he logged out. I guess he didn't like what we were talking about. Not a Babcock fan? Anyways, I'm going to read you his bio, and then when he joins us, it'll save time on that. He is from West Palm Beach, Florida, as I mentioned earlier, 5'10", 186. Played his high school football at Palm Beach Gardens and his college in Boise State. In 2017, he was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In 2017 to 18, the Arizona Cardinals. And then he's been with the Calgary Stampeders since 2019. And we really appreciate him joining us, if he does, on his bye week. 2016 All-Mountain West second-team defense and a CFL All-Star just last year. I think we all know that this guy is indeed a ball hawk, Jonathan Moxey. So while we await his appearance, and Clark saying he wasn't even told to log in until a couple of minutes from now, I'll jump into a sports update and see where we stand from there, and then we can get into even some text messages if we need to on the EMJ Marketing text line. 902-518-3033 reaches us. The Toronto Blue Jays send Yusei Kikuchi to the mound as they look to snap a two-game losing streak against the Texas Rangers tonight. Texas won 6-3 Tuesday night at the Rogers Center to leapfrog the Blue Jays in the American League wildcard race. Toronto now tied with Seattle for the third and final wildcard spot. Man, this is a thrill-a-minute, anxiety-riddled end of the regular season for the Toronto Blue Jays. And I saw TSN's Brian Hayes saying Vladdy is sleepwalking through this series. Does anybody that follows the Blue Jays far more closely than me want to weigh in on that? Is Brian Hayes right? I mean, we can look at the stats. Would tell you that. But that's sad if true. And if it is true, I would go so far as to say the Blue Jays aren't going anywhere as long as Vladdy's the face of the franchise, which don't tell me he's not. Because, I've said it many times, I don't profess to be a baseball guy. I only talk about the sports that I know well. And I bring up the fact that in 2022, the Blue Jays had 6 All-Stars. This year they had what? 2 for sure. Romano and Vladdy was there 3. And I have baseball people going, it doesn't matter who the All-Stars are. Okay. What does matter? NHL Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly says the sale of the Ottawa Senators is almost complete. A group led by Canadian businessman Michael Andlauer agreed to purchase the NHL team in June for a reported price of around $1 billion. Daly says the deal is expected to be closed in the next couple weeks. The Sens went up for sale last November following the death of owner Eugene Melnyk. Our sports updates are brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company. They have the perfect craft beer for your enjoyment, featuring their Core 5, Good Company Hazy Pale Ale, Common Crown Crafted Lager, Journeyman IPA, Brewmaster Blonde Ale, and Coppersmith Brown Ale. 4 of those sit below 5% ABV, making them the ideal beer for your everyday common affair. Hey, how about that? Thank you, Clark. We got Jonathan Moxey with us now, and I'll say it again. JM, I appreciate you spending some time with us here on the bye week. What's a guy like you get up to on a bye week? How's it been for you?
Man, it's good to give that body a rest. Down in South Florida right now, down in West Palm. Just left the beach this morning. So enjoying the sunlight for right now.
Outstanding. Well, that puts us about 23 miles apart, you and I, right now. 2 guys hooking up on the show here today. And the Players Association Spotlight is brought to you by our friends at Sober Carpenter Non-Alcoholic Craft Beers. Jonathan, you've been in Calgary long enough to know that what's gone on this season, I hate to ask the tough questions, but at 4-9, you guys aren't used to this. So how are you handling it?
Yeah, not at all, man. Honestly, it's been a weird year. I tell everybody all the time, when you look at our record and it says 4-9, we could easily be 9-4. Like, we lose a lot of close games, and at the end of the day, we have to find a way to win those close games. That's what it comes down to.
Well, and again, you've been a veteran of the NFL and the CFL in a bye week. How does that help a team that, and I don't even know how much you're struggling. You came off the home win in the Labor Day Classic against Edmonton, then you go up and lose on the last second up there. What do you need to do in this bye week to make sure you come back not in the same funk as a team?
Honestly, we getting banged up by a lot of injuries. I don't know if you noticed. I know strictly from the secondary, every week it seems like we lose a guy here or lose a guy there. But it also has been happening on the D-line and also on the offensive side of the ball too. So, and it's not an excuse. At the end of the day, we got to step up. We got to have guys come in and make plays and execute the game plan. So we have to do that. And then honestly, we got to do some soul searching. We have 5 games left. And if we want to make a run for the playoffs, it's something that we got to come in there. We got to look in the mirror and really step up and decide, hey, we got to start winning these games, close or not. We got to win games.
I know that you guys are good enough to do it, and I should mention, and I don't know if the CFLPA told you, I spent all summer in Calgary, so I heard the buzz around town, and most everybody's like, we'll figure it out by the last third. This is the fans. We always do. Dickie and Huff will have it figured out by the last third of the season. I'm guessing you don't want to wait that long. Mind you, I guess we're entering the stretch drive here right now, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of panic in town because you guys have built that equity within the fan base and probably your locker room too.
It's a good thing that we build that trust. Personally, I never like to wait until the last minute to get anything done. I like to prepare, and I like to start fast. But like you said, it's where we are now. We're in the bottom third of the season. So at the end of the day, we got to lock in and make some changes. And if we want to make that push to get that playoff spot, then we got to make some changes and we got to make it happen quick.
Well, Jonathan, I see this is more of a conversation than an interview. And I was talking to a football guy yesterday, a coach, and I was saying, hey, Dickie threatened to make changes way back in July. I heard him on the radio saying, if we don't turn this around, I'm making changes. And then he never really did. And this coach goes, they don't have practice rosters anymore in the CFL big enough that they got somebody just sitting around waiting, for replacements. Is that a thing? I mean, you've been in the CFL long enough to know. You can threaten to make changes, but you got to have somebody sitting there ready to go. And that's not just a Calgary thing. That might be right across the whole CFL.
Yeah, like I was talking about earlier, I know from his perspective, it's probably a lot different. With him being the GM and the head coach, it's probably a lot different. So, like, some of the stuff is like maybe we've had a lot of injuries, right? But then how soon can you get a guy to come up here and learn the entire playbook and be ready to play immediately? That's not very it's not easy at all, especially for the American players. You can't just get a guy to come up here and just learn how to cover the waggle. That's something that takes time. Even the guys that are the best cover guys down south, they come into training camp every year, and you learn sooner than later. This is not the same football. And I'm pretty sure it's the same way for all skilled players, same way for the guys up front playing that extra yard off the ball. It's a different game, and it's a different speed. So it's very hard, I feel like, to just, boom, make a change because you still got to find guys to come in and learn. And as far as everything else, I mean, outside looking in, you wouldn't really know if he made any changes coaching-wise because he would only know that, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, we just got to lean on Dave and trust Dave. He's been doing this thing for years, you know what I'm saying? Like years and years, playing and now coaching. So we just got to lean on him and trust his judgment.
It's interesting that you say that because the football people all trust Dave, but you can see how the fans get antsy. 4-9. Doesn't look good. And again, they're not used to it. They are not used to it in Calgary. So I'm interested to see how this final third turns around for you guys. Just before I ask about your schedule coming up, you've been in the CFL long enough. You were an all-star just last year. That football guy said with the XFL and the USFL, it's harder to get players to come up. What made you want to come up? I know those leagues weren't around when you did, But how did you find your way to Calgary? Because I know it's gone great ever since you did.
Honestly, that's probably a credit to Cole Huff. He's a guy who always checked up on me every offseason. Like every time I got released, so I got released from Tampa Bay twice. I got released from the Cardinals twice, just on and off of their practice squads. And Huff would always check in on me. Are you good? You know what I'm saying? Making sure, see if I wanted to make that step. And eventually I just said, you know what, I'm ready to play football. And he hit me up one time and I said, you know what, let's do it. Like you said, those leagues down south, they do make it a little more difficult for guys to travel up this way. If you are down there, technically now with them moving up the base salary up here, it's a similar amount of money. But we are in a different country. And I think that is something that a lot of the GMs up here in Calgary, they understand. But then I don't know if it's like league wide as far as like how far it is. We are in a different country. Guys are leaving their families to come work and come play football. When you're playing in those other leagues, the pro for it is that you're in the U.S., so you're probably a little bit closer to home. Some of those guys, they play in those states where if you're in Texas, there's 2 teams there, I believe, so they're right home. Those are the only difference. The biggest thing about coming to Calgary for me and staying there and not going to one of these other leagues is you can actually make a career out of it. You could do 2-year deals. You can make more money. The better that you play, you might be able to make twice as much that you would make down there. So that's one of the pros for me as far as you could build an actual career in the CFL. Long term, you could play there for however many years and your salary can continue to grow as long as you're performing. Down there, they have set salaries and there's nothing you can do.
It's a transient league, the USFL and the XFL. It's different rosters every year. I know exactly what you're saying. And Calgary is just a fantastic city. I love it so much. And I could sit here and talk to you for a long time. Maybe we'll do it in the off season. I'm going to be here, Jonathan. What do they call you, J-Mox? I'm going to be here all winter, so maybe we can get some wings somewhere and talk about it more. But I just got to ask you about the final third of the season for the Calgary Stampeders. I know you're thinking 1 week at a time, not how many wins you're going to need. But when you think about that final third, what do you think about? Can we get this done?
I think we could get it done. You asked me my nickname. I go by all of those. J-Mox, Money Mox in the locker room. But, yeah, I truly think we can get it done. A guy like me, you know what I'm saying, I'm never shying away from adversity. And I think my teammates are the same way. We're going to go to work. Like, I preach it every day. We go to work and we compete every day in practice. Even at this latter part of the season, we're still going to go hard. We're still going to figure it out. We have extra meetings. We're going to, lock in and really figure out what we need to do to win games. And I feel like it's not going to be until everybody does it and we all have to execute on the same time. Like, it can't just be one day the defense shows up, offense doesn't. One day offense shows up and the defense falls off. We have to do it at the same time. And that goes for offense, defense, special teams, and coaching. We have to all mesh at the same time, and this is the time to do it. So it's a good thing that we have this bye week so that we can all self-reflect. I think actually when we go back, I think they extend the practice rosters. So that's a good thing. That'll help us get through practice. That'll be smoother, and they can get a better evaluation of some more guys coming in, which is good for scouting and good for the roster depth in general. So it's the time for us to do it.
That's what it's going to take. Money Mox, you're a great speaker. Thanks for the time. Enjoy the rest of the bye week. We're watching real close.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Jonathan Moxey of the Calgary Stampeders. We'll be back with Audience Takeover right after this, live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, podcast, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Hey Rod Squad, now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show, official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
It's a quickie, everybody. Audience takeover here for a good time, not a long time. 902-518-3033. The number to text us here in the South Florida studio, and I got some regarding the Babcock versus Biznasty battle. Rick in Martinsville writes in, and he says it's the overblown, taken out of context BS that Biznasty ran with. Bring Krusty the Clown to back it up. Even Overdrive jumped on this BS. I sure hope somebody has the nuts to apologize and retract. I won't hold my breath. We're going to have to carry that over to next hour, but thank you, Rick in Martinsville, for your thoughts. Nobody ever apologizes, by the way. Kirk in Toronto, watching on Game Plus Television, says, if the Argonauts clinch the East Division with a win against Montreal this weekend, how does Coach Dinwiddie keep the team going for the last 6 games? Good question. Well, you're the guy that said if they lose their top quarterback, they're done, right? Why don't you just enjoy the run, bro, instead of thinking too far down the line? People have Jeep questions. We have an update. That all coming up after this brief pause. Thanks for sticking around on Game Plus and Key Radio.
How about that?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
One night in Edmonton, we were out on the town, and there was a guy by the name of Bain Norrie.
How about that?
Bain says, "I'd ever tell you guys about the night I was out with the Rolling Stones?" And I'm like, "Come on, what was Mick Jagger like?" And he's like, "Well, no, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards weren't there. It was the rest of the band." And I hit the floor. "You weren't with the Rolling Stones then, Bain."
Keith Richards and Mick Jagger are the Rolling Stones.
Exactly.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yes, it is. Hi, everybody. Welcome to hour 2 of your favorite daytime sports talk show. Now 4 hours in daytime blocks here on Game Plus. Noon to 2 Eastern and then 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern. How about that? It's actually perfect.
How about that?
Yeah. I'm in South Florida. Darren Moose Dupont is in Toronto, and he joins us now wherever you're joining us from across North America or around the world streaming. Thank you. And also we're on the radio in Atlanta. I had a feeling, Darren, that people are really going to want to delve into this Mike Babcock, Paul Bissonnette feud, which is what it's become. And we'll get to more of that in a moment. I want to throw this in, a comment from Ryan McCarthy, who is in the Albany area. Quite a place, Albany. I feel like you and I got to get there at some point, Moose. Have you been? Have you been to Albany, New York?
No, I've been to Rochester, but I haven't been to Albany.
Okay. Well, Ryan McCarthy is in Albany, writes in. He says, "I really enjoy these CFL Players Association interviews. Every player has been well-spoken and represents their teams excellently." I want to pass along that comment because not only thank you, Ryan, for saying that, but I also agree. Every week when we do these Players Association interviews on this show, presented by Sober Carpenter, I'm excited to find out who it'll be. They never, ever disappoint. And it was Jonathan Moxey of the Calgary Stampeders today, last hour, and he's from West Palm Beach, Florida, which incidentally, he's here now. Like 21 to 23 miles away from me right now. That's kind of funny. And it was the brainchild of Kevin, the medium, our sales coordinator. He sold the sponsorship to Sober Carpenter. Everything works out great, and I love when things work out great. I'm just going to say that. And on the Babs thing, and trust me, I'm not letting this Nathan Rourke football thing go away. It is the football time of year. But for those that don't know, where we spent a lot of our time in hour one was Mike Babcock's been accused by Paul Bissonnette of the NHL on TNT and Spit and Chicklets of asking or making the Columbus players show him photos from their phone, something he was accused of doing in Toronto, which led to his demise there with the Maple Leafs. So Troy in Toronto writes in, huge Leafs fan. He says, Frankie Corrado, and for those that don't know, he's a former NHLer who's now on TSN as an analyst. Frankie Corrado did not give a glowing representation of Babs from his dealings with him as a player on TSN radio today. He was adamant that Babs cares only about himself, believes he's a narcissist. So maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I'll just walk this back for everybody, what I said an hour ago. Babs is a friend of mine. There's no two ways about that. I don't know him well enough to say whether he's a narcissist or not. I have been in his home, but that wasn't enough time. My narcissist detector didn't go off in the time that I was there. But there's a lot of narcissists in sports. That's way more than you would even know just in the world. They say that Nick Saban is. He was accused of that by Jimbo Fisher, the coach of Texas A&M, just last year. Jimbo Fisher called him that, if you remember. Nick Saban. Do you think Nick cares? Do you think any Alabama fans? I don't care. I'm a Crimson Tide fan. Do I care that Nick Saban might be a narcissist? I don't. Just win. You just lost last week. You better win this week. So that's my take on that right out of the gate. Do you have any more on it before we move on?
Well, yeah. For Frankie Corrado, it's unfortunate. I mean, he was on the wrong end of Babcock, right? I mean, wasn't he on, what did they call it, Clark? Babcock Island? Wasn't he there? I mean, I'm pretty sure Frankie Corrado was in the press box and just, for whatever reason, could never get on Babs' good side. Good player, all the rest. It was Robidas Island because Stefan Robidas went through the same thing. You know, it's hard because when you're on, when you don't get along with somebody or fit somebody's system, you're going to have negative things to say about that person, right? Especially, you're in the National Hockey League, right? Commodore, Corrado, Johan Franzen, blah, you know, the list goes on. And you've had a lot of success in other systems. When you go to a system and a coach and you don't fit it, you're not the person he wants, you're not the mold, you don't like that structure, you don't want to play a certain way and it doesn't work out, that guy's a jerk, I don't want to play for him. You know, it's not like it was over there where I was successful, this guy's a jerk, right? So there's that side of it too. So you got to take everything with a grain of salt. Not saying they're wrong, and they shouldn't be validated for the way that they feel or the experiences they had. But you really, really, really need to just make sure you look at a 360-degree view of this angle, you know, analyze all sides. And again, we'll only know how this went down if you were in the room, because intention doesn't come across in words.
The world needs more people like you, Darren, as CEOs, because unfortunately a lot of people just listen to the last thing they heard is how they form their opinion on somebody. For instance, you know, I want to say something else. Jonathan Moxie here in South Florida. One of the reasons I love it here so much is this is where all the ballers are. Like, there's millions of players, but there's millions more ex-players and coaches. That's one thing. I was working out recently with a former NHLer who this knocked the hell out of me, surprised the hell out of me. We were talking about Babcock. And because in the very short time, I should mention this too. Licensed mental health recovery coach here, addiction recovery and mental health, interventionist and specialist, some may say, in grief, trauma, and stress management right here. So I listen to what people say. I pick up on people, so I'm not just a pretty face sitting here yapping up every day on the old yak box. So as I was listening to this guy as he worked out and we were talking, I could tell he was a left-wing Democrat kind of guy, not normally my kind of guy per se. I'm a right-wing Saskatchewan farm kid. That's not a shock to anybody. I don't hide it. So when the topic of Babcock came up, you know, he's been canceled, or the left or that tried to cancel him, which is also fine. I didn't think Bab would ever come back. I mean, I literally don't care. But the guy, we were talking about Babcock, and this guy said to me, former NHLer, he goes, did he say anything that wasn't true, Babs, about this player or that player? Did he say anything that wasn't true? It's what you're just saying. He was talking about other players that Babs had a problem with Babs, but they were overweight in training camp. They were in the press box not playing, and they came out and were mad at Babs. And what this guy said to me, former NHL, I don't want to out him because it was a private conversation, but he just said, Babs didn't say anything that wasn't true. So, and that hurts players' feelings. So, yeah, did you have something on that, or moving on?
No, and that's why we have to look at both sides and understand what the intention is and, really be able to see it from everybody's point of view. It doesn't discredit either side at the same time. And I think we're a long ways from this being over. You asked if he'd get through the season, if he'll get through the month. I mean, if it's as bad as what Babs is, what Biz, is portraying it to be, and that side and the Babcock haters, he might not make it through training camp. But if it's not that bad, he'll be coaching throughout the year, and we'll find out by the fact that he's on the bench or not on the bench. We'll find out how bad this was.
From what I know of what's going on in Columbus, John Davidson's calling the shots. End of story. I don't think Mike Babcock's going anywhere, but people have a lot of strong thoughts on this. John Ohm, who's had a lot of great comments today, John Ohm says, I would go through a brick wall for Babcock. Biz, not a fat chance in hell. Just hang on. And John had a comment here earlier, says, when did a pro sports coach's job change to being a babysitter? Here is your baby bottle and your blanket. Give me a break. Grow up and put the big boy pants on, players. John, here's the problem. It doesn't matter when it happened. What matters is it happened. We're here now. You know what I'm saying? So they do need to be a babysitter. They do need to pat their butts. That's just the way that it is. Wayne in Victoria, BC says, being a narcissist is not the worst thing you can be. Lots of people nowadays are narcissists. Wayne, I would suggest that you haven't had a lot of experience with them then. Maybe you should go Google signs you're dealing with a narcissist, because I've dealt with many. I'm not one, but I have. And every piece of advice you'll get is, if you are identifying somebody as a narcissist in your circle, run. Run. Like your hair's on fire, don't look back. And I'm not joking. It's not funny.
No, I know. And I laugh because I'm thinking of, my response. Is it Wayne? I would say, if that's the outlook of narcissists, not that bad. You're not dealing with enough of them. And for that, I would say go in the corner on one knee, Tim Tebow style. And I would just say a short prayer that you don't have to deal with narcissists in your life.
Yeah, you obviously haven't had a lot of dealings with them, Wayne, and for that you should be grateful, thanking God that you haven't. And the last one on this, BW in Edmonton says, is Patrick Roy a narcissist? Might be a good fit in Columbus. Number one, I'll say Roy is not a narcissist from what I understand. I'm very good friends with his agent. I just talked to him the other day. Patrick Roy comes with his own set of issues, which, by the way, so do I. Just because I said I'm not a narcissist doesn't mean I don't have flaws, which I've bared for the world to see. But Columbus hasn't even taken to the ice yet, for the love of God. And they're already in a controversy with Babs. Can we just get to Christmas before we talk about who's going to coach Columbus next? That's all that I'll say on that. Now, I'm done. I got to look away for a moment, because it is September, it's peak football time, and it's 1:11 Eastern, I might add. How about that? And 11 Mountain, right on time.
Never late, as they say.
Hell yes.
No. Can't schedule feelings. To the football. Because there's so much here that I feel like we did them a disservice. Football, haven't talked about it enough today, and I need to. Our poll question today is for Key Auto Group. We do it every Wednesday. What is Canada's game of the week in the Canadian Football League? So I just want to update the poll results. The last I saw, Edmonton Sask is now leading. It's brought to you by Key Auto Group. At the Key Auto Group, you can buy with confidence, knowing that they provide reports on all vehicles they sell. Get fully informed about your next vehicle by going to keyautogroup.ca. I do want to say this as we do switch gears over to football. Serena and I are extremely excited, me probably more so than her, that right after this broadcast now, Moose, her and I are heading to a professional podcast studio in downtown Boca Raton, Florida, and taping our first Cats and Bolts podcast. It's all about Florida NHL hockey, split 50-50 right down the middle. The Lightning and the Panthers. We're taping our first one today, and everybody's excited in the hockey community down here. They're giving us gifts and so forth to put on our set. I can't wait! Now to football. The poll question yesterday was, who should the New York Jets sign to replace Aaron Rodgers? And I didn't even have the TV on this morning. I was dealing with stuff with the Jeep, which I said I would read those texts. I'll get to that. I didn't have it, and I'm over it. I don't need to hear everybody's opinion on Aaron Rodgers. You knew what the Jets were going to do. They were going to go with Zach Wilson. Like, I love that every Canadian football fan and Nathan Rourke fan thinks that he is the next coming of Joe Namath, and maybe he is, but they've already got a year invested in Zach Wilson as the number 2 overall draft pick. They obviously thought a lot of the kid at one point. He came in and rallied them to win the other night on Monday Night Football. Of course they were going to go with Zach Wilson, but Nathan Rourke won the poll. Everybody thought, out of all the options out there, Nathan Rourke is who the New York Jets should have signed. How do they believe this stuff? I even saw your boy Dunk write an article about it. He couldn't honestly believe that the Jets would turn to Nathan Rourke, an NFL rookie, to save their season.
I'm trying to find a comparison. You know I love analogies and comparing this to
and you're
something.
Very good at them. You're very good at them, by the way.
Right, thanks. But it's like, I don't know, giving the keys to the yacht to navigate out of the port to a freshly minted 16-year-old who just passed the online boater's license exam and has never driven the boat, you know? Because they don't, I mean, Nathan Rourke's played college football. He's excelled in the Canadian Football League Pro Bowl. He excelled in the preseason. Let's not forget about that. But to NFL GMs, he's done nothing. He's unknown. They don't know who he is and if he can handle this pressure. They would, like the list of Matt Ryan, Nick Foles, Cam Newton. They're talking about Taylor Heineke or Jacoby Brissett being trade targets. Tom Brady out of retirement. They're even talking about Robert Griffin III even talked about a GM talking to him in the offseason and saying, you could probably still play, and he could play, he's good enough, but he'd be a distraction. Phillip Rivers. The list goes on. They're all ahead of Nathan Rourke on the list of quarterbacks you'd like to have right now. We know Nathan. We'd love to see him have a shot. And I think we truly believe that if he had the shot, he could excel. And heck, maybe he could win the Jets a Super Bowl. Like, that could happen. He was really good in the preseason with pros and all of the rest, but it's just not happening. It's not happening. They're not giving him a shot. Maybe he gets signed to be a third-string emergency quarterback in case if something happens. But there's so many things that would have to happen before he got a chance with the Jets. So many things.
It's not to say we wouldn't like to see it happen. It's not like we necessarily don't think that he couldn't do it. Maybe he could, but they weren't going to do it. It's what you're just saying. We'll be back with more in a moment. We are live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, podcast, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033. 92.3.
2 million liters of power creates electricity. Electricity creates.
View Casino. Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
The RP Show continues on a beautiful day here in South Florida. Darren Moose DuPont joins us from beautiful Tirana as well, where the Blue Jays need to win tonight. By the way, hey, collectors, register for the premier sports card convention where collectors, enthusiasts, and sports lovers unite to celebrate the beauty and value of their treasured items. Taking place in Red Deer, Alberta, in the Parkland Pavilion, September 29th, 30th, and October 1st. Get your tickets and more information at premiersportscardcon.ca. I love these events. I love these conventions. It always reminds me, Moose, my guy Chris Sanford from the Bronx, who I had lunch with yesterday at PDQ Chicken, says I got to take this football out of the box. I was thinking I need to go to a card convention or a memorabilia store, collectible store, maybe buy a tee. Because where else would I really get a tee? I guess I could probably get one. I could probably get one from DeBuck over at Cardinal Gibbons High School. I could probably do that. I could probably steal one. He wouldn't even know. But my guy, Larry Mueller, said that he was going to build. So you Stampeders fans, you all, well, any CFL fan knows who Larry Mueller is. Son-in-law of Ron Lancaster, the little general, the greatest Rough Rider of them all. He said he was going to, you know those things they put bats in, display bats? He was going to build them for footballs. Then, of course, typical Larry fashion, never did. So I'm leaving this in the box for now because I think if I stand it upright, you wouldn't even be able to see the CFL logo. But I like the way Chris thinks.
Yeah.
Hey, you and I got so much to get to. I just want to sprinkle in a couple comments from the viewers. Colin in Ottawa says, I'm sick of hearing who will quarterback my Jets now that Rodgers is done. Let us Jets fans mourn another lost season in peace. Please.
No.
Ryan, where is it? What were you saying there?
No, I mean, you're 1-0. You're 1-0. And outside of the quarterback now, you have a championship roster. Don't give up on the season now. It's crazy.
Oh, boy. Colin in Ottawa says, you better have a plastic rat or two for your desk for the Bolts and Cats podcast. Oh, boy. Is Kenny Wasden watching in Saskatoon? The Waz, he gave me 2 plastic rats. Do you still have those in the sweatpants capital? Do you know where those plastic rats are?
So Smurfly. Oh, yeah. Like,
where are they?
I think, well, what we need to do, and you know what? If you pay for it, I'll volunteer to drive, okay? Or maybe Joe will find a way to pay for it. But I'll take a U-Haul from Saskatchewan all the way down to Florida because that's what we need to get all the stuff down there. And that's where it needs to be, okay? It needs to be down there with you. So maybe one day we'll make that happen.
I had 2 plastic rats, and they're in the Queen City. So thanks for the reminder. We got to get them. Ryan in Toronto says, fantastic show today. I'm with you, Rod. If not now for Zach Wilson, when? It's his time. Well, the thing is, they tried him last year. And that's what made them go out and get Aaron Rodgers. Because Zach, well, not only did it not work, did he not blame his teammates on offense?
He did.
He called them out, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he did. And here, like, you said, well, if you're moving on from him, why'd you keep him around? Well, the plan changed in New York from him being the guy to saying, hey, he's got a lot of tools. He's a good quarterback. We're going to get him mentored by Aaron Rodgers for 2 to 3 seasons. Then he'll be ready. Well, it
happened.
But look, Aaron Rodgers is gone. He's not playing anymore. The mentorship's not there. So now that plan of mentoring him and grooming him into the next guy changed. Now he's the starter again. I don't know if it's going to work out. I just don't think it will.
Well, again, we know what's going to happen. That's what they're going to try. They're going to try. And they're going to go to Dallas and lose this week. Which reminds me, let's just spend a minute on the CFL games because it is a show anchored out of Toronto television after all. And then we'll swing around to the National Football League because we are on the radio in Atlanta. After all. That would be a great song, After All. Is there a song called After All?
Probably.
Because if there isn't, there
Has
should
to
be. Well, there's a country song by Tim McGraw and Florida Georgia Line called May We All, but not After All. There should be. Okay. Tomorrow we'll be playing Deal or No Deal in the Canadian Football League, by the way. Deal or No Deal tomorrow. I haven't even looked at the betting lines for these yet.
How about that?
But Toronto at Montreal. The Argos, if they win, clinch first in the East. And apparently even if they lose and Hamilton loses, they'll clinch first in the East. I don't want to get into the permutations. It gives me a headache. But did you see the comment last hour from Kirk in Toronto, who's a great guy? He watches this show every day. But he's like, what are the Argos going to do if they win and clinch and they got 6 games to go? These are great problems to have. Stop worrying. Here's the same guy that last week said, what happens? We don't have a backup quarterback if Chad Kelly gets hurt. Dude, do you run around looking for things to worry about? I said it last week when he said it. You'll remember this. I said, worrying is like rocking in a rocking chair. Gives you something to do, doesn't get you anywhere. Sit back and enjoy the bus. Some people just aren't happy unless they're worrying. It's a horrible way to live. I used to be that way. Now, do you think Toronto goes into Montreal and wins? Forget about the point spreads and everything. We'll do that tomorrow. What do you expect out of that game?
I do. I expect them to go into Montreal and win. And then they're playing to be one of the greatest Argo teams of all time, right? To set Argo records of wins and losses and the rest and go down and be sharp and try and, get fans in the building. And, there's a number of things you keep playing for. What did Denzel Washington say? Perfection is what we're going for. Perfection, right? So they're trying to be perfect. They're trying to get better. These are football players. There's a lot of things to play for. Stats, contracts, money. Like, there's a lot of ways to keep a team engaged. Just because you've clinched first place doesn't mean you pack up and go home. That's just not going to happen.
And by the way, so what? If you put in the backups and they lose, I'm sure you'll get it together. Every other team wants to be in your position if you finish first with 6 games to go, just so you know. It's not a problem, okay? You work your ass off to get there, so once you're there, enjoy the fact that you got there, and then look forward again. Don't worry about it. If I've read that right, it just sounds like he's worrying about it. And then Edmonton at Sask on Friday night. That football coach I talked to yesterday, Edmonton's dangerous. They are dangerous. They've won 3 of their last 4. And this is the game of the week to me. I mean, our poll question is that for Key Auto Group in the Canadian Football League, and it is now leading Edmonton at Sask Friday night. Because if Sask wins, they've pretty much cemented a playoff spot. Then Edmonton would have to look at a crossover berth to get into the playoffs. But should Edmonton win, oh boy, they could overtake Sask for 3rd. They'd be in a better crossover spot. It's a lot rides on that game Friday night. And Sask still playing with their 3rd-string quarterback, let's not forget. Let's not forget that. It is what it is. They've beaten Edmonton twice with Trevor Harris. He's not available anymore. So I would think there's a little anxiety in that Rider locker room going into this Friday. What do you think?
Yeah, they've played really good at home, so there's that comfort level. I expect them to be feeling a little more confident because they're at home. I think that's important. But you have to be knocking in the knees a little bit because this is the team that's chasing you, you know? And so, you know, you talked about pressure on this show yesterday, and what does pressure mean? And I think it means a little something different to everybody. But in this situation, when you're expected to do something and you're expected to win, you're expected to perform, and it's a fear of failure, you know, that's pressure, right? That fear of, oh my God, if I don't do this, what's going to happen? And we kind of put that in our own heads a little bit as to the worst case scenario. Well, if Saskatchewan doesn't beat Edmonton on Friday night, what is going to happen? They're going to catch us. We're going to lose. We're not going to make the playoffs. People are going to lose their jobs. Like, that's where their minds go.
Yep.
So there absolutely is some pressure in Saskatchewan ahead of this game on Friday night.
Really interesting that you say that. And that's why I honestly think Craig Dickinson is one of the greatest coaches in the Canadian Football League. I think he's trapped in a not very good situation there in Saskatchewan. I think he's doing a remarkable job winning games with a 3rd-string quarterback. I love me some Craig Dickinson, but he's going to have to manage those expectations, as you've just pointed out. Lighten the room, whatever it takes to do that. Because one thing I've learned, I talked about this earlier, grief, trauma, stress management certification right here, mental health recovery advocate and professional coach. I very much equate it to what I do here. I was just talking to a guy the other day. He said, you having that camera on you every day in the spotlight and having all these people look at you is not that much different than a kicker lining up a 47-yard field goal to win a game or the goalie facing a penalty shot. It's really the same. And I'm like, yeah, I know that. That's why I'm good at it. Do you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people that would think, oh, my God, Rod, you and Darren go on national television every day. Aren't you worried? Aren't you worried about what you're going to talk about? Aren't you worried about? No, I don't even think about it. And you know why? It's because it's what I do. So when I'm sitting there with these players and some coaches that are having mental health issues, this is what you do. And if you don't think you can do it, we'll get somebody in here who can. You should see their eyes when you say that to them. Huh? You don't think I can do it? Pisses them off, right? I don't know how Craig Dickinson's going to manage his team and the expectations going into this game, but if anybody cares about this stuff, the mental health stuff, read the book Mind Gym by a guy by the name of Gary Mack. He's the most famous sports psychologist that I've ever heard of and pretty renowned. And he's worked with every sport because it's all the same. It's all the same. That's what nobody understands. You don't need to be golf specific to hockey to football. It's all the same. And he goes, what's the difference between a 4-foot putt and a 40-foot putt? Everybody expects you to make the 4-foot putt. Nobody expects you to make the 40-foot putt, right? So go through the same routine in either case, right? It's all between your ears. Monty in Saskatoon writes in and says, Ottawa's played 3 quarterbacks this season, Rod. What's your point?
Yeah.
Just to finish the Week 15 in the CFL, Winnipeg goes into Hamilton Saturday. It's a doubleheader, and then Ottawa at BC. These games shouldn't need to be close, Moose. What do you think?
They shouldn't need to. The Ottawa game with BC is interesting. BC has left some questions the last number of weeks. Not the team that they were early in the year. So maybe it's a chance for Ottawa to find an upset and keep themselves in that playoff picture. As you mentioned, they're not that far out of it, right? They could realistically end up hosting a playoff game if they find some magic here, but they are running out of time. I know Jim Barker came on this program last week and said if they don't win, they're done. And that could very well be true. This is an interesting one for me, and I think for BC, if I'm a BC fan or in that organization, I'd like to see them come out and make a statement and tell the world again that they're back in the conversation with Toronto and Winnipeg for one of the top 3 teams in the CFL. So I have some interest in that game for sure.
Brian Ray joins us next from Dallas Stars TV, but I just want to ask you this, Darren, before we go. My Week 2 NFL games that I'm watching really close. For one, we'll all be watching Thursday night, Vikings at the Eagles. Shout out to my guy, Jeff Pedersen. You know him, days in. The hotelier to the Stars. Jeff Pedersen, his Vikings going to lose at Philly. Chargers at Tennessee, your team. 2-0-1 teams. The Dallas Cowboys going to have their way with the New York Jets, obviously, in Jerry's world. And the Dolphins go up to New England. And I think they're going to come out of there 2-0, the Miami Dolphins. Those are the 4 games I'm watching the closest in Week 2. How about you?
Yeah, I just pulled up the schedule to have a good look. Rams and 49ers, Chiefs and Jaguars are the 2 for me. I think the 49ers right now are the best team in the National Football League. But, it was a real impressive game over Seattle from the Rams in Week 1. So I'm kind of curious. Matt Stafford looked pretty good again, and they're kind of making, what they say, chicken salad out of you-know-what. And, Kansas City got Chris Jones back. Jacksonville is supposed to challenge for being a top seed in the AFC. That's got my attention as well.
Gotcha. I appreciate my guy Ryan Schultz checking in from Manitoba. I used to work with him at the mighty RM. He says, right on, Rod. Yes, in broadcasting as anywhere in the world, if you can't do it, then it's not for you. I've seen football and hockey speakers cringe at talking in front of 5,000 people. Oh, by the way, it ain't easy. But I know how to prepare for it, just like an athlete knows how to prepare for what they do. And again, if it's too much for you, don't do it. What does Sam Mitchell say? Why don't you do us a favor and quit? Moose, I think you're done. Great show today. Went by real fast.
0-0-0.
Yeah, 0. We had guys who had a stat line of 0-0-0. Why don't you all do us a favor and quit? Okay, see you later.
Later.
Thank you. Brian Ray joins us next from Dallas Stars TV, Bally Sports. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, podcast, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, the RP Show continues. By the way, folks, our hockey coverage is brought to you in part by Common Crown Brewing Company in Alberta. Head down to the tap room, which is in Calgary, 28th Street Northeast, Thursday through Saturday, noon to 8 p.m. Check out Common Crown Brewing Company at commoncrown.ca. We're going to talk some Central Division now. Brian Ray joins us from Dallas Stars Television. He hosts the broadcast on Valley Sports. And Brian, hey, I want to tell you something. Don't be alarmed if this sign blows over. It's happened once already to me today. I live to tell about it. What's the most embarrassing live television broadcast moment that you've had? I know this is right out of the blue, but you must get asked that a bit. I get asked it a ton.
Well, I don't know how much time we have, but in my first year of doing TV with the Dallas Stars, Rod, you've done this. Whenever you see a radio or a video highlight of a player, a game, or whatever, it's called a video package, right? So
yeah,
we're doing our post-game show, and I'm getting ready to take our show to whatever topic is on our rundown where I think we're going. And our producer gets in my ear and quickly changes on me and says, Spets a package, Spets a package, Spets a package. And without even blinking, I just go, let's take a look at Jason Spets' package now as we look at what he did tonight. Yep. So that was my baptism by fire into live television. Somehow I'm still here talking about it, so maybe it wasn't as egregious as I thought.
I'm writing that down. Congratulations.
Dude, yeah, I see you writing that down. That's just going to come back and haunt me.
Thank you. And you had it ready to go. Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you. For more serious stuff, I did my predictions here a couple of times for both the Western Conference and the Central Division. I got the Dallas Stars, the #1 team in the entire West Conference going into this regular season. That's how I think they're going to finish. Agree or disagree with that?
I will partially agree with you. I do think they are one of the two best teams in the Central Division. I think you look at them and you look at Colorado, and they seem to be the two teams that everybody says should be at the top. And then after that, I think things can really get wide open. So on paper, I think it's a neck-and-neck duel between Colorado and Dallas for who could be the top dog in the Central. As we roll through the season, health will come into play, bad luck, good luck will come into play, and we'll see how it shakes out. But I don't think that's a ridiculous statement to think they're good enough to be the best team in the Central.
Can you take me through the offseason? As you know, they don't get a ton of coverage outside Texas and certainly like none in Canada. How would you rate that offseason for the Dallas Stars?
So I deliberately try to temper my expectations, especially at this time of year, because we all feel good about hockey season and where our teams that we cover lie. So I think a B+ to A- grade is a fair grade for what Jim Nill and the Dallas Stars did. And the headline was getting Matt Duchene for $3 million on a 1-year deal to come in and not have to be a top line forward. In terms of forward depth, if you've got Matt Duchene playing on your second, possibly third line, depending how things work out, that's pretty good offensive depth to have up front. The one question mark that is going to surround the Dallas Stars, at least early on here, is their blue line. And it was exposed a little bit in the conference final series against Vegas, where you have Miro Heiskanen, who is absolutely a top pair defenseman. But after Miro Heiskanen, the waters get a little muddy as to who is your second, third, fourth best defenseman. Is it Ryan Suter, who is getting up there in age? Is it Esa Lindell, who some thought might have had a little bit of a step back compared to previous years? Is it Thomas Harley, who is an early 20s rookie who was really good in the playoffs, but is he ready to step up at 21 or 22 years old in his first full NHL season and be a top pair or a top four defenseman? And so the Stars didn't have the cap room or really the assets to go and acquire a bona fide, true, call it number 2 or top 4 defenseman. They might have the options internally, Thomas Harley, as I said, and then Niels Lundqvist, 2 youngsters. If they take a step forward, maybe there's an internal step that gives the Stars somewhere in that top 4 defense the presence they need. But it's a question mark. I wouldn't call it a concern. It's just that's the question mark, I think, surrounding the Stars on paper.
Dabbling back into the fun. Not that wasn't. Allie in Texarkana, Allie, she writes in and says, she goes, I'm just in time for my favorite broadcaster. Ask him about the clip-on ties and pouring milk before the cereal, Rod. LOL. What's the story, my friend?
It's an inside joke among Stars fans. And you know what? You can search it. I believe Sportsnet on Twitter did actually retweet it. But during the season after the lockdown, when it was limited fans, and for us, we had to maintain our 6 feet of distance at our desk, there's the video board sat right between me and Brent Severin, my co-anchor and my analyst. And so during our intermission reports, you would just see the video board. It would run graphics. It would do its usual thing. So one day, the game operations crew, who are fantastic people, they decide to post a message on the video board that says, Brian Ray pours his milk before his cereal. And I just stood there doing the entire first segment of the intermission report with this message right over my shoulder that we finally noticed and obviously had a good laugh over, and the Stars hockey fans certainly enjoyed it on Twitter. And so when I went to the game ops guys the next day, I'm like, hey, that was a great joke. And they said, don't worry about it. We're going to get Severin real soon here. So fast forward a couple of weeks, they do it again, only it says I wear clip-on ties on the air. They never touched Severin, so they lied to me, turning me into the victim. I've clearly gotten over it emotionally, as you can see. But it was a video board gag during the shortened season after the pandemic that the game operations crew played on me during our intermission reports. So thanks a lot, guys.
Well, it's good to know that you guys have fun. And, Brian, I'll lastly say this. We got a couple moments left. You guys have been knocking on the door in terms of Stanley Cup final appearance and in the Western Conference final appearance, and you lose to the Stanley Cup champion every time. What's that done for the Stars fan base? I would think it's whipped them into a frenzy. I know what it's like down there. Everybody loves a winner. Are you close to getting to the top of the mountain, do you think? And what's it done for Stars hockey in Texas?
Well, first of all, when you look at today's NHL, I think they have as good of a chance as any team if you look at the top 6 to 8 teams. And I'm a big believer. Probably the Stanley Cup is the hardest thing to win, but getting through that first round feels like a gauntlet a lot of times. Once you get to the second round, Part of it's health, part of it's matchups, part of it's puck luck. Those final 16 teams or the conference final, those final 8 teams, final 4 teams, they all have a legitimate case. I think the Stars are in that conversation. I think they're going to be in that conversation this year. What's it done for the Stars down here in Dallas? We just actually had a staff meeting last week, and the entire lower bowl has been sold out for the season from everything they had available. So the success they had last year, combined with the success they've been building going to the playoffs 4 out of the last 5 years, it does feel like it has reached its boiling point, or it's very close to its boiling point in terms of what's being discussed. And money decides everything. And right now there are people spending their money on the Dallas Stars, which obviously is a great thing for any organization in hockey right now.
And quickly, this popped into my head. Speaking of that, you obviously have your finger on the pulse of the franchise. How would they feel about another NHL team in Houston? I'm not saying it's going to be Arizona. I'm not going to say it's going to be anybody, but how do they feel about sharing the state? It sounds like you already know the answer to that, but I don't. So what is it?
No, you know what? I don't know if I've ever had that conversation with any of the management executives. Just we always talk random stuff, and for some reason that's never popped into my head. So I'm going to speculate a little bit and just give you my opinion. It's great to own a state or a province, but I also think Houston's only 3 hours away. In terms of building a rivalry or creating a little bit more of a buzz around your games, a team in Houston, I think, would be fantastic. You have a natural rival. You're within a 3-hour drive. You can make it a weekend trip to each city if you're a fan base on either side. All that does is fuel ticket sales. Ticket sales and viewership is going to fuel sponsorship elements. All that does is strengthen organizations because they can almost feed off each other through a natural rivalry. And I think, you see it with some of the original 6 teams or some of the Canadian regional teams that are close enough together. We don't get to have a Battle of Alberta down here in Texas. I would love to see a Battle of Alberta, even if it's our Battle of Alberta. A little hatred and a little bloodthirstiness between players and fans is a good thing to build the hype around hockey games. I'd love it. I think it'd be great.
It's fantastic. Yeah, I would hope that the owners would agree. Brian, enjoy whatever's left of the offseason. You probably don't have one left, so hopefully we get to chat soon. Thanks for the time.
Good to talk to you as always. We got camp coming up next week, so looking forward to it. See you guys.
Thank you, pal. We've got overtime coming up next for Overtime Hockey Lanes, which includes a sports update and audience takeover. We'll be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, podcast, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Hey, Rod Squad, now you can join the team with your very own RP Show gear. Head to rodpetersonshop.com and get yours today while supplies last. It's just like we wear on the show, official RP Show gear at rodpetersonshop.com.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
All right, everybody, it is time for Overtime, presented by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, where skill and fun collide. Hey, we've been telling you for a couple months you got to head down there, but now you really got to go down there and check out the special Rod Pedersen Show specialized shooting lane. We have our own lane now at Overtime Hockey Lanes. I call it an amusement park for hockey players. If you love shooting pucks, this is the place for you. Tipping pucks, fully licensed. They have a restaurant and bar. Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, 28th Street Northeast. Check it out. Tell me how you liked it. Oh, by the way, if you, my face is on the goalie in one of the, not again. Thanks for the reminder. Embarrassing hockey or broadcasting moments. I'll tell you, I got a few, not shockingly. But they tell me there's a RP face on the goalie, and if you hit him in the face, his eyes light up. Oh, no. Yeah, how about that? The eyes turn red if you hit me in the face. Used to be my whole face turned red back in the day. Sports update. The NFL Players Association wants the league to switch all its fields to natural grass, calling it, quote, the easiest decision the NFL can make. Executive Director Lloyd Howell issued a statement this morning saying NFL players overwhelmingly prefer it, and the data is clear that grass is simply safer than artificial turf. Howell said the issue, quote, has been near the top of the players' list during my team visits and one I have raised with the NFL. The Players Union called for the change less than 48 hours after a season-ending injury to four-time NFL MVP quarterback Aaron Rodgers. He tore his ACL, or why do I keep saying that? His Achilles tendon in his debut with the Jets on Monday night. Meanwhile, Mike Rizzo spent his first 5 years with the Washington Nationals, painstakingly assembling a roster, which ended up in a World Series championship in 2019. In the midst of another rebuild, the longtime GM is not moving on, and his teams, his bosses are not. The Washington Nationals signed Rizzo to a multi-year extension today that will give the 62-year-old a chance to see if history can repeat itself. One more time, Mike Rizzo getting a contract extension as general manager of the Washington Nationals. Our sports updates brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company. They have the perfect craft beer for your enjoyment, featuring their Core 5, Good Company Hazy Pale Ale, Common Crown Crafted Lager, Journeyman IPA, Brewmaster Blonde Ale, and Coppersmith Brown Ale. 4 of those sit below 5% ABV, making them the ideal beer for your everyday common affair. So twice the wind has got up today and knocked this banner on the back of my head. Not that big of a deal. We'll survive. But it is fun And I quite often get asked, a lot of times by young broadcasters or when you're speaking to a school or something, what's your most embarrassing broadcast moment? Well, depending on the crowd, the demographic. One night in Ottawa, I confused the words punt and kick in a radio broadcast. There's that. And then on television, right, I was waiting, Clark. I was broadcasting the Canadian Professional Boxing Championship. No, it wasn't. It was the IBF Championship on pay-per-view television. And former Canadian champion Ken LaCosta was my color guy. And we were in the ring doing an intermission wrap-up. And these hot lights, you don't understand what it's. If you saw this from there's a lot of lights on us here. And back in the day, this was in the 90s, they had these colored filters on top. One caught fire, and it was dripping hot plastic that was melting onto my hand. I still have the scars to this day. I never stopped talking through the whole. I was holding the mic like this, basically hot wax, but it was hot plastic. I have holes in my hand still to this day from that incident. Yeah. Phil in, where is he? Dauphin, Manitoba says, good day. It's hump day for your poll question, which is what's Canada's game of the week. He says the Elks and Riders will be a good one. Both have lots to prove, and with the Elks winning, I can't wait. Regarding Babs wanting to look at the players' photos in Columbus, he says, if someone wanted to look at my photos, I say go ahead. It's mostly gym workouts and booty workouts. We'll take your word for it, Phil. Jason in Winnipeg writes in and says, Craig Dickinson seems to be out-coached week after week. Go Bombers! How do you explain the Labor Day Classic then, son? Wasn't it 25-23? So, says the Bomber fan. No, I'm a Dickinson fan. Sue me. Great show today. Thanks, Jonathan Moxie, Brian Ray. We'll see you tomorrow, noon Eastern on Game Plus and Key Radio.
Who has more fun than us?